Hello everyone, and welcome to my tier 100 chain lightning build and guide for Season 2. The build has great defenses, and speed clearing tiers 100 also can do bosses fast. You will see Lilith killed during the video too. Other new bosses go even faster. If you want to check the full tier 100 dungeon run, you can see my previous video. I have made chapters in this video if you want to jump to specifics gear, skills, Vampiric Powers, or Paragon. But I will recommend taking a bit of your time and hear me out on some explanations of choices, as some might be controversial. But I reached those conclusions after multiple different options tested. First, I did want the build to have maximum armor even after tier 100 penalty. Secondly, to have maxed resistances 70% without bothering about them on gear. On jewelry, you can equip armor gems as resistances are solved. I use 4 legendary nodes as I value them a lot and focus boss damage as much as possible, as the group damage is over enough already with good gear I have, but not even close to maxed gear. So jumping into the gear showcase. Armor 8,500 plus. I am a bit over as have a bad disobedience roll and 70% permanent max resistances. Health 15,000. Missing 1 health ring roll with recommended stats from D4 planner I make, you will have 15. This is without disobedience buff and no elixirs. If see gameplay, rarely I had elixir buff in bar. As always, I use 2 hand on chain, and saying again my 2 cents. Chain is the only Sorc skill that does not and never cared much about cooldowns, and it benefits more from 2-hand weapon. My own view is with chain you rather to hit harder. Yes, with other skills it is sure better to play 1 hand like you could see in my previous builds of Season 1. You do not trust my judgment is fine. Slap 1 hand and get on offhand crowd control duration, cooldown, and aspect edge master. Your main stats to chase on weapon are intelligence in all stats. Rest get any DPS affix that you have higher roll, but consider uptime too. Your critical and vulnerable are almost permanent uptime. ECU boots bring chain crit close to 100% and other skills, and crackling to 80. This means more DPS, more crackling, and balls from enchant. Sure, you can try the other new unique boots to reduce ultimate cooldown, but again you see in the gameplay half of the time I don't have ultimate and still everything just dies. And ultimate is already very low cooldown with crackling synergy and vampiric. If you play other unique boots, you will have to bother evading into monsters between skills. What is the point of chasing close combat permanently if you are half of the time killing all from long range? Then you also lose so much critical and capped movement speed free. Anyway, it is up to you. Both are good. I rather ESU. If playing offhand, the other unique's flicker step brings you infinite ultimate, so if you like that, go for it. The build works without uniques, but put elementalist on 1 ring till you get ESU instead of DPS ring aspect. The build uses 2 uniques, Thibaut Pants being the other one. Now of course you can fit others too, like Fist of Fates, maybe, or Isadora Amulet. First, I did not get them yet in such a short time as a solo player. Secondly, I don't think it is ideal to slap more uniques, except if you get some Ubers. But I suggest you experiment in the same build. If you get hands on more uniques, they should fit fine. Now, Thibaut Pants are a great DPS increase at the cost of bit defenses. Build absolutely works without them. If you do not have them, just put traditional defense pants, maybe even with plus ball ranks for the enchant trigger. If you miss unique pants, the mana gain from unique pants is not much relevant. You will be fine mana without them. Recharging aspect and enchant is enough at this level. I do not use mana generation on crackling passive, so even so you can just put points there if any issue. To my shame, I only have gloves with plus 3 ranks on chain, so I did not use my highest roll control aspect, waiting for better gloves. As you will see in Paragon, I do not play more control glyph. Will explain in Paragon why, mainly because I want to focus boss DPS more and stagger is not top. If you want to play control glyph, have on gloves instead of restore resource, a fixed lucky hit chance to slow. In the planner you will have all recommended affixes, but in video I do use intelligence on chest and helm as I miss it on weapon. But there is no need for it. Go for traditional affixes. You will get even more defenses than what you've seen. if have intelligence and all stats on weapon. On amulet, no need for more armor affix. I have it as use a bad disobedience roll, get cooldown or DPS buff instead. You will reach 8,500 armor with higher power level gear than mine, or better armor rolls on chest and helm. On amulet, I still want movement speed even if have Isu. That is because Isu caps movement speed but has a short downtime of a couple seconds. So then we are at close to 200 if kill elite and 160 permanent move speed. If you feel there is too much slap DPS affix or damage reduction instead of move speed, you want max health on both rings and critical chance. Other two affixes same as with weapon. Get any DPS buff that you have higher roll but consider uptime too. Your critical and vulnerable are almost permanent uptime. Now to the Vampiric Powers. After multiple testing all variants, I ended up using cheaper powers again. It just felt unnecessary to get all the others. You might think Thibault pants need the unstoppable on evade. That is not true. You are anyway unstoppable every 4 seconds or so, and we apply permanent vulnerability with chain from static surge node. It just doesn't need any curse, and our area damage is crazy already. I favor attack speed as mandatory this season. Power for getting fortified and critical chance or reducing ultimate cooldown or multiplier damage. If you want, swap any except the attack speed power. For a 6 cost power, you have room. If farm new bosses for a long session, then change Fortify Vampiric Power maybe with 1 to heal on cast. If it is with bosses that have no mobs to kill, buff won't be up. I did not bother with it, did all and Lilith with Fortify. But for a long session farm, only bosses might worth swap. Next, the skill tree followed by Paragon. The first 2 points are irrelevant, they just unlock core skills. Elemental Dominance as our mana is permanent over 50. On Chain, I miss 1 rank from Gloves. And for very end game, I play Greater Passive. We generate Crackling by Ball Enchant and Lucky Hit passive. Is more than enough, and our DPS on Chain get a big boost with 9 chains from Tether Aspect on 2-hand weapon. For endgame, I play Shimmering Passive as it does help to jump in big groups and heal back when shield is over. On Teleport, on very endgame, going back to Shimmering Teleport for extra damage reduction, almost permanent. We are good, don't worry. Sorc is not squishy slap glass cannon. 1 point in ice armor, and this is not for defense if some new viewer to Sorc. I only favor ice armor as have lots of DPS buff and glyph defense buff on barriers, and I play 2-hand, so this assure close to permanent uptime buffs, between a bit longer cooldowns that a 2-hand has. If I would play off-hand, would not take this, because the barrier we get on protection passive from using cooldowns is enough already. Lightning Spear best utility skill on Sorc. Hands down, no doubt. Stun all map when have any crit chance focused build. Now, about this choice, we use Greater Chain, so I still want as much crackling as possible to keep the glyph buff up, but also that the area damage of it is quite good considering we use Paragon for it. We do get some crackling from Ball Enchant, but still, I just want more crackling, everywhere if possible. Put these points in Potent Warding if you lower level, for getting resistances if still needed. The build Paragon provides 70% resistances if you follow it to end, but maybe lower level or want to adjust. Also, if lower level and want more mana, keep 1 point and get next, Crackling Passive to get mana on pickup. This season attack speed buffs, Ball Lightning benefit, and scale most of it. So end game to help bosses use Ball Enchant. Rank it up too. Not only you have Ball from Enchant, but also from very often ultimates. Overflow Energy and Vampiric Power make our ultimate end up back every 20 seconds or so, even with a 2-hand. Enchantments. Chain lightning and ball lightning. And as you can notice, I use legendary Paragon node for 20% more efficient enchantments, a bit under rated previous season. But this time I find a lot value in it. You will get more chains and more balls. Sometimes you will get extra chain on second cast. The mana calculation works same as with the static surge node. Next, the Paragon Board. And here it might be a bit controversial that I keep only 5 boards even in the end game. Well, the legendary Paragon nodes, all of them 4 that I picked, are juicy, my man. This season it is and will be completely different math. Damage buckets changed. I value like 7 glyphs in this build, but 2 of them are not that big to give up on resistances or any legendary node I pick. One of them gives 20% multiplier alone, other 20% more chains and balls. The other apply permanently vulnerable, and last one makes crackling more than useful. You can give up a point here and there and make the 6th board, but you won't do it without removing actually some points that buff you more by synergies. I see glyphs overrated this season except for a few specifics. Second, this assures you no stress on resistances. Max resistances covered, you do not bother with resistances on gear anywhere, so can throw any uniques you want. I have made and tried both a 7 glyph and 6 glyph. Ain't what I want with chain lightning. I win less than what I lose if not stick to 5 boards. The gameplay you see is what I want, and the ease to not bother resistances. In fact, there are 3 nodes with that you will over-cap resistances when have all glyphs maxed to level 21, but I kept them so as cannot expect you all have level 21 glyphs all over the place in such short time. I will point out exactly those 3 to be removed when have max glyphs. As you will notice, I favored vulnerable glyph, even though is lower damage than control glyph by a bit. That is because we have permanent vulnerable uptime. And yes, constant stuns on map and can get chance to slow on gloves for control glyph. But the overall stagger in tier 100 or the new bosses is like close to their end of HP pool. And on maps we are no stress already. Everything is dead. So I focus boss damage outside stagger if is placed to improve it at the cost of the over damage already we do on maps. Tactician over control for same reasons as mentioned earlier. If want to swap it for control, keep the 3 nodes I mentioned earlier to be removed at max glyphs. And by the way, all the non-physical damage you see on board will buff also the multiplier we get from legendary node Frigid Fate. That reaches 20% multiplier without even play or care cold skills. So keep in mind if want to remove some non-physical buffs from board. Like said during Skill Tree Showcase, I use Enchantment Master. A bit under rated previous season, but this time I find a lot value in it. You will get more chains and more balls. Sometimes you will get extra chain on second cast. The mana calculation works same as with the static surge node. As we buffed non-physical on board, Frigid Fate reaches a free 21% multiplier as we have permanently vulnerable with chain static surge. I also took on this board 10% extra damage reduction from vulnerable. Most important nodes requirements are met if you reach 540 dexterity. Easy to achieve if follow board and have all stats on weapon too. Sure, in the end do not bother much about it till you are level 100 highly geared. You only lose on 5% damage reduction till you get it. Thank you for watching and for support. If have any questions, please leave a comment below. I will try answer all. Next week, we'll start create tier 100 builds for ball lightning and charge bolts, then move to fire and ice builds. I am a solo player, so need bit of time to grind gear for my ideas.